What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing what I personally believe the Chicago Bulls need in free agency. Now, this is not going to be, I guess, me naming players specifically, but talking about some of the things that we need as a team heading into next season. Of course, where we failed, where we've struggled, and even with some of our successes, how we continue to grow on those certain things. I'm also going to be comparing to what Arturo said as well, talking about size, athleticism, obviously three-point shooting, and stuff like that. We'll be getting through all of that in this video. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and what do you think we need in terms of free agency and in terms of signing new players or trading for players as well. At the end of the day, nothing is a foregone conclusion for this team. There's going to be a bunch of options, a bunch of, I guess, needs that the Chicago Bulls team has to take us to the next level. From finishing to the 6th seed to maybe within the top 4 and hopefully within the top 2 of the Eastern Conference and show our dominance next season. We have a lot to work on in that avenue, but it is something that we do need to focus on. So, again, not naming specific players. I will have to do that down the line. It's still very, very early. The NBA playoffs are still going on. There's a lot that has to be done before we talk about specific players. But specific needs, in my opinion, can easily be talked about now. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Arturo mentioned, as I said before, size, athleticism, defense, three-point shooting. I'm going to talk more in depth about what he said and what I personally we need from those areas. First thing I want to actually talk about is athleticism, because this one was a bit of an interesting one when he said that to me, because I still believe this team is one of the most athletic teams in the NBA. Again, if you look at the players on this team, you got Zach LaVine, a very athletic player. You got Patrick Williams, a very athletic player. You got Ayo, that's really a fairly athletic guy for a point guard. You also got guys like Derrick Jones Jr., extremely athletic. This team is relatively athletic in my opinion. I think we have a group of athletes here, and that was the whole point of the regular season to begin with. At the very beginning of the season, we're talking about why athletes would be big for us, how we can go be a team that runs out in transition, gets steals and deflections and stuff of that nature. Athleticism was the key for us doing that at the beginning. So, in all honesty, I don't personally feel like athleticism is a top priority for the Chicago Bulls. I think we have a lot more we need to focus on before we focus on athleticism. Because if we want athleticism, I say there are certain guys on this team that you'd like to keep over trying to get new guys. I would keep Derrick Jones Jr. if you're priding athleticism. I would even keep a guy like Javonte if you're focused on athleticism. Again, he's another guy that's very athletic. Zach LaVine, giving him the max contract if you're focusing on athleticism. Stuff like that. Of course, you're going to have to bring more athleticism in if that's the case, but this team is fairly athletic already, so I don't feel like that's an avenue we need to go down again. I think we need more than just athleticism for the Chicago Bulls. So, we'll move on to the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Defense. This is something that, at the end of the day, we desperately need, ladies and gentlemen. We need defenders on this team. Now, when you look at the whole variety of defenders that are out there compared to the defenders that we need, there's different ranges of defenders that we want. For an example, I don't see us needing another defensive guard on this team at the moment because, again, you've got Lonzo Ball, defensive specialist. If he played most of the season this year, probably an All-NBA defender. That's how good he was. Alex Caruso, again, didn't have a healthy year, but when he is healthy, he's one of the best guard defenders in the NBA. Could potentially have been an All-NBA defender, but even if he wasn't, he was one of the league leaders in steals this year because of how good he was on that end. Something else we have to keep aware of. Ayotte Sumu, as a rookie, had a very good defensive year in my opinion. Slowed down guys like Trae Young on a regular basis. It was a fantastic sight to see, and I'm very, very proud of Ayotte Sumu's first year, and I think he has great ability to be, I guess, a strong defensive player in this league. So there's 3 guard defenders there that I think could really carry the load defensively for the Chicago Bulls in the future. So I don't necessarily think we need guard defenders. I think we do need a little bit more wing defenders, and this is going to go based on, again, we got Patrick Williams, Troy Brown Jr., and Derrick Jones Jr. You're probably going to say one of them is going to leave the Chicago Bulls, so we're going to have to replace one of those guys. Not Patrick Williams, but I guess the other 2, Derrick Jones or Troy Brown. One of them is probably going to leave. If they both stay great, maybe we don't necessarily need wing defenders defenders. I personally still think we do need wing defenders, but we definitely need a defensive-minded center, ladies and gentlemen. As I mentioned before, we were linked to Mitchell Robertson not long ago. I'm not going to go too in-depth on that because it's only rumors at this point, but a guy like him would be very useful for the Chicago Bulls. Someone that has a little bit more size, is going to be able to protect the rim, protect the paint, and just score easy shots in the paint as well. Someone that plays his role well. Not going to go above the ordinary, not going to be exceeding, I guess, his offensive level, scoring in the paint and blocking shots, potentially being an alley-oop threat as well. I think that's the type of guy that we need for the Chicago Bulls as well. But that goes mainly in the defensive end, a rim protector. We've been talking about it for a long time. We even talked about it last season. We brought Tony Bradley in to be that defensive-minded center. Didn't necessarily live up to the task. Again, he's not a great shot blocker, but he could have been a good shot, I guess, deterring shots as a center, but again, he didn't really deliver on that end. So we brought in Tristan Thompson, and I don't think Tristan Thompson had a great time with the Chicago Bulls. In all honesty, I don't think it was terrible, but I definitely think that it had a lot left to be desired. So again, a rim protector, I think, is an absolute certainty, and I think it's an absolute must for this team. Whether we get it from the draft or whether we get it from free agency or we trade for one, there's rim protectors out there, and I think it could be relatively easy to go and acquire a rim protector at any time, no matter the age or no matter, I guess, the level. There's always going to be rim protectors out there, in my opinion. So we do need defenders, arguably wing defenders, but we definitely need a rim protector on this team to help Vucevic, get the load off of Vucevic as well, because he plays so many minutes for this team. Well, also, again, if we want to play defensively, we can switch it up. We don't always have to see the same lineup every single time. So, very interesting then. I'm very excited to see what the Chicago Bulls can do in that area. And I wouldn't guarantee it, but I can almost assure that I think that's a big position that we're going to go for next year. So, let's just wait and see how that goes for the Chicago Bulls. Arturo's talked about size. Absolutely. I mean, again, small ball. I said it in the playoff series. I do not want to see a small ball lineup for the Chicago Bulls anymore. I feel like without Lonzo Ball, there is no use of having a small ball lineup out there because we do not run out in transition anywhere near enough to be able to use that small ball effectively while also dealing with the mismatches on the other end. Most teams in the NBA play a normal size lineup, or they tend to go a little bit bigger. Not every team goes small ball. Now, the good thing about going small ball is when there's variety. For example, if we have a chance to go small ball against, I guess, a bigger team and we use that to advantage, that's great. But that can't be our only way of playing as a team. I've said that for a while as well. We have to go bigger at times. We have to see guys like Vucevic play with a big guy next to him. We have to see a big lineup out there. So at the end of the day, we can cause mismatches of our own and we can take advantage of that. It makes the game so much easier when you have so many other ways of playing, not just one small ball lineup or two small ball lineups out there for the Chicago Bulls. So I'm not saying disregard it whatsoever. I don't want to see it as the main thing anymore. I want to see some size added to this team. So if we need to go bigger, we can. If we have to go smaller, we can do that as well. That's what I really hope the Chicago Bulls do. In my opinion, size and defense is probably up there as the most important things outside of the one I'll be talking about next. But size is very important because I just want a variety in our lineups. We can use maybe a 6'10" guy as a center for the Chicago Bulls that has mainly played power forward in his career before. Again, you look at guys like Robert Covington that I think could be a good get for the Chicago Bulls if we were to do that. I'm not sure how likely that is. But those types of guys I think would be very vital for this team. And even adding more size in there, you could probably get some centers as well, just so we can play a two-center lineup if need be on the offensive or defensive end. Again, many people will say it won't work, but you got to trial these things before you can say it doesn't work or it does work. You just don't know until you try it. So I really want to see the Chicago Bulls really work on that. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is three-point shooting. And the reason why I say that is that we've seen what the Chicago Bulls are going to play like in the NBA playoffs. Look, the regular season and the playoffs are two different beasts, two different animals. The playoffs is mainly half-court sets. It's mainly the type of environment where you have to take advantage of mismatches. You have to be able to find the open man and knock down shots. You have to be able to force things, even though it might not be the best case scenario. Sometimes you've got to force things just to get a bucket. It's a really hard environment to compete in, to be at your very best. But for the Chicago Bulls, the way that we play, In order to get the best out of DeMar DeRozan, we personally need three-point shooting on this team. I can't express it any more than that. This team lacks three-point shooting. Look at how many threes we had to take against the Milwaukee Bucks once they made their adjustments. That three big man lineup, we didn't have size, big thing there, so we led to three-point shooting. If that's how we're going to play, and in order to get the best out of DeMar, we need three-point shooters everywhere on this team. We need to have a very similar mindset to how the Warriors were at one stage, where they could play 5 out and just pass it to any player to shoot a three. That's almost the direction we need to go in. Now, again, with a guy like DeMar DeRozan, his go-to is to try to break down an opponent. Let's just say we play a 5-out system, ladies and gentlemen, and 4 out of the 5 guys on that team can shoot the 3 ball very well. I'm not saying never miss, but I'm saying at a decent level, a much better level than what we've seen as a Bulls team this season. DeMar DeRozan won't get that much help defense. DeMar DeRozan won't get double teamed that much because there is so much respect at the three-point line. DeMar DeRozan, in my opinion, will be able to play his game a little bit more. And he had a fantastic year this year when he's been able to isolate and play one-on-one and shoot those shots. It's not the most efficient thing. It's not the most intelligent thing. But when it's there, DeMar DeRozan is one of the best to do it. So having three-point shooters out there that DeMar DeRozan can pass the ball to when there is help defense or where there is double teams, we're going to make teams pay that want to go and double team a guy like DeMar DeRozan, want to double team Zach LaVine, want to double team Vucevic in the post. We got to make sure teams can capitalize on teams double teaming the Chicago Bulls. That's very important as well. So I guess to rank it in order, I think three-point shooting is an absolute necessity next year. We can't go into this next season with very poor three-point shooting. Otherwise, we're going to have a very similar season to what we had now in this season. Next season, we're going to have a very similar season. And also, teams will have that game plan that the Milwaukee Bucks did as well. They're going to do the exact same thing. Every team, it's a copycat league. They saw how the Bucks beat us this series, and many other teams will try to replicate that next year as well. So we got to make sure we adjust, and we got to play three-point shooters on this team. I think size is the next one. Very, very important. Without size, you got no diversity. You have no ability to switch the lineups depending on the opponents that you face. And you get a little bit too stagnant. You get a little bit too predictable, which I think has been a big problem for the Chicago Bulls. And the main reason why Billy Donovan gets so much critique. They say that he makes no adjustments as a coach. I personally think the reason for that is because there's not much adjustments you can make when your main go-to and the only go-to as a team is a small ball lineup. So we need to add size so we can give at least the coaching staff and Billy Donovan a chance to make adjustments before we just throw him to the curve as a bad coach. We'll have to wait and see how that goes next year. Obviously, defense as well, and another necessity. Again, those three most important in my opinion. Defense, especially in the rim protection and wing defenders, would be very important. Guys that could try and slow down the superstars in this league. Guys like a PJ Tucker, we remember it seems like every team he goes to, he's able to slow down some of the better players in the league, and he goes on to winning franchises and they go on to succeed. Jay Crowder as well, another guy you could look at. Again, I'm not saying that we should get these guys, but these are the examples that other teams have that make them so successful. We need to find our own version of that with this Chicago Bulls team, whether it comes with development or it comes with trades or free agency. We've got to find our own version of that. And then I think athleticism is at the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. I don't necessarily think we need that much more athleticism. I think this team is very athletic in its own right. And again, if we're using transition once again next season, and that's going to be the way that we go down, I think this team, if we want to run out, can be very effective in transition already. So I feel like athleticism is probably the lowest in the pecking order for me personally. But let me know in the comments below what you think about all of these things that I mentioned. A relatively longer video once again, I do apologize, but it's a very interesting topic. It's free agency, man. It's the off season. This is what we have to look forward to now, while other teams have to sit there and enjoy, or again, maybe suffer in the NBA playoffs in the second round. It's a very important time for the Chicago Bulls, so we can end up next season being in those positions where other teams are right now, still playing in the NBA playoffs and not talking about the offseason. That's where our goal and that's where our mind needs to be headed for next season. So let's just see what the Chicago Bulls do. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.